Let's bring in today's panel. We got Jonathan Hoenig from Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund. He is also a Fox News contributor. Annika Green, a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. And Todd Harwitz, the host of the Bubba Trading Show. Todd, let me go to you first. We had good GDP numbers. As Nicole was just stating, part of that was because of a 4% surge in consumer spending. So why the Wall Street pouting?
Hi, David. Well, look, the markets have been overbought. The markets are overvalued. There's still a lot of things that are going on. Look at the strength of the dollar today, which in my opinion is going to be the black swan event. If the dollar gets too strong, that kills global lending. So forget about GDP right now. It's about the big global story, and there's a lot of issues all over the place, including China, which could create a major sell-off here.
Well, Annika, Wall Street can be fickle. I mean, we're seeing examples of that. It's very nervous right now. It can be a disconnect with what's happening with the economy, which seems extraordinarily strong by a lot of different measures. Wasn't that, a lot of people were saying when President Trump was saying, I'm responsible for the market doing well, and frankly, there's a lot of evidence of that. Still, he should have associated himself more with the economy than with the market, which can be so fickle.
That has historically been what presidents have done. And so by making those comments and associating himself with the market, he then is tied to the market performance in ways that may not end up being positive. Some reports are saying that the gains under Trump have actually been erased by about 37%, which is not something he's going to want to see long term.
Jonathan, for so long under the Obama administration, you and I were talking about how the market was doing well despite the economy because of what the Fed was doing and just printing out money. Now the market's not doing well in spite of the fact that the economy is.
Well, the market is worried about, I think its number one risk right now, David, which isn't even a slowing economy. It is the government. You know, you weren't worried about necessarily perhaps Barack Obama down, talking smack about an oil company, but not Amazon.com, not Facebook. And if you take a look at where this tremendous damage has been, I wouldn't let the market move for the Dow kind of persuade you today. Look at the internals, David. Almost 200 new 52-week lows, only a handful of new 52-week highs. So stocks like Tesla down 7% today. Tesla's bonds now yielding more than Ukraine's bonds. There's some real worry right now in the technology sector. And David, that's the sector that government right now, whether it's Amazon, Tesla, Facebook, has in its crosshairs.
Well, let's stay with Amazon, Jonathan, because President Trump looks like he wants to go after Amazon and possibly change the company's tax treatment. That's according to Axios. Now, the White House did respond to this report earlier today. Listen to this.
The president has said many times before he's always looking to create a level playing field for all businesses, and this is no different. And he's going to always look at different ways, but there aren't any specific policies on the table at this time.
Okay, Jonathan, is that enough for you as an investor?
Well, it's unfortunate it's not true. I mean, also today, for example, we got word about the president's wishes for new tariffs or extended tariffs with South Korea for light trucks. So I don't think as an investor you can take it to the bank that the president is looking for low, fair taxes, equal taxes for everyone. And the fact that, as you said, he's going after Amazon. I mean, this is one of the great stalwarts of the American, the world economy. The fact that any employer, the fact that any business person has to be worried about the president going after them, no wonder investors are selling first to ask me questions later.
$53 billion in market value shed after that report from Axios. But Annika, I do want to point out here that even the reporters at Axios are being very clear in saying, that even some of the statements he's made to sources they've spoken to, the president was actually off the mark and didn't really have the facts together with regards to, say, the U.S. Postal Service. The Postal Service actually benefits from Amazon. He thinks Amazon's hurting them. Does that kind of, again, allay your fears about the president on this one, Annika?
Well, one of the things we've seen with President Trump is he likes to get a lot of feedback, and it's not always from people within the White House. He talks to friends a lot. The Axios report said that 5 different people talked to him about Amazon, talking about brick and mortar stores being harmed by Amazon, and that's been a long-running narrative. But what you ultimately see is that his comments on the fly don't dictate his policies, and his advisors do weigh in ultimately.
Yeah, Todd, especially if there's no there with regards to what Amazon is or is not benefiting. And real quick, I do want to ask you about this. Some say, again, in that report that he talks to a lot of his friends that are in real estate. He talks to a lot of his friends that are in retail, and they say, look, Amazon is killing our business. They're hurting the mom and pop shops throughout the country, and that's got at least the heartfelt sentiment of the president, even if it doesn't mean he changes policy.
Well, Cheryl, I think what you're seeing here is that the markets have taken what Amazon is doing, and Amazon has gotten an unfair advantage because they had more access to capital than the average small business. So they've systematically taken every small business and put them out of business, destroying shopping malls, which is a lot of people, a lot of help, and a lot of employees. Now, I know Amazon's a great company, but they do have an unfair advantage because of their access to capital, because of the way the system works right now. So I think that it's a problem.
Let me just counter that. Whatever access to capital that Amazon has, they've earned. It is the American public. It's the people who make Amazon so powerful.
No,
They're the ones who shop at Amazon.
I totally disagree with you.
Unfair.
You're totally off base here because, again, the banks are not lending to the average small business. They're making the average small business go to their credit cards and go to predatory lenders, not lending to normal small businesses, which is the real crux and the real problem of the lack of a free market, which we have right now because of the interest rate set by the Federal Reserve.
You're both making actually very fair and good points, and you're both actually the panel's going to stick around, guys. So let's
want them
get
to
this in
stick
a moment.
around.
Yeah,
we like the enthusiasm of this crowd. Meanwhile, a big trade story coming out of the White House: the first America First trade deal of the administration. The South Koreans agreeing to a deal that will spare them from the steel tariffs. Let's go to Adam Shapiro at the White House with more. Hi, Adam.
Hi, David. And yes, the White House, the administration, spinning this as a victory. And in some parts, it definitely is when you consider that the South Koreans have agreed to limit their exports of steel to the United States, 70% of a 3-year average over the last 3 years. But that's just only part of the deal. Here's what Sarah Sanders had to say about it.
This is a big deal for the American automotive industry. It's a big deal for our parts manufacturers. It's a big deal for our pharmaceutical companies. And ultimately, it's a big deal and a major win for American workers and American businesses.
And that's one of the reasons the president tweeted earlier today that the U.S. Trade Representative just announced an agreement in principle with South Korea on Chorus. A great deal for American and Korean workers. Let's now focus on our important security relationship, which, of course, there's the potential for the upcoming meeting with the North Korean leader. Senator Orrin Hatch, who is chair of the Senate Finance Committee, actually said this because he's been opposed to the potential of tariffs that the administration has been talking about. He said, quote, "The agreement in principle announced today makes steps toward improved implementation and maintains the strong economic ties between our two nations. As we move forward, it is imperative that the administration continue to monitor Korea's compliance with the agreement so that it fully benefits American manufacturers, service providers, farmers, and ranchers." You should know there are people who think this deal is one for the dogs when you look at what they got for automakers. For instance, automakers now can only ship per maker 25,000 cars. That'll grow to 50,000. But as the critics point out, no manufacturer here in the States has ever shipped more than 11,000 cars. But on the other hand, this may be more like the dog party and go dog go, because there's a lot that the U.S. gains in this deal.
Adam,
to celebrate. Back to you.
Nice summary. Thank you very much. Our panel is back to react. Annika, it looks like from the outside, it appears that the threat of tariffs against South Korea paid off here.
Well, it certainly brought them to the table, but that's not something that surprises me. South Korea has been a strong and long-standing ally of the United States and vice versa. So, of course, they're going to come and say, well, we'd like access to the markets, and they want to be in the same category as Mexico and Canada as regards steel.
Well, Todd, they've been a good ally, but on the other hand, according to Donald Trump, we had a terrible trade deal with them. In this case, according to Trump, we got a good trade deal. The threat of the tariffs work. I assume you like it.
I do like it. And again, all I think Trump wants and all that I want is everything to be fair and equal for all parties. And I think that's what he's striving for. And I think that's what he's achieved within South Korea. They've changed a couple of dynamics of the original deal. And now I think it's fair. And I think that's the way it should be, because it's better business for everybody if you have a fair, straight deal.
Jonathan, we have a trade deal now. There are no tariffs, at least for South Korea. Why don't you like it?
Well, David, is that true? As I understand it, I mean, part of the president's trade deal is extending tariffs that on automobiles that were supposed to sunset, that were supposed to expire for another 20 years. That's not getting rid of tariffs.
You heard what Adam said. That would apply to autos beyond the amount that usually South Korea sends to us. So it may not apply to them at all here.
Well, it is, you know, if you believe that a free economy is a fair economy, David, this is still a very centrally planned economy. So, you know, it's hard to get behind it. And I think it's one of the reasons that even among the South Korean stocks today, you didn't see a lot of upward momentum, because this is literally a figment of whim. What's government going to come up with next? hard to make plans and hard to invest in that environment.
Last word from Jonathan, Annika, Todd, good to see you all. Thank you very much.